Hi, I'm Sydney Wrestling, and this is my interpretation of the story 8 Bites. And this is my cat Clover. She's very cute. What I really enjoyed about this story was that what I really enjoyed about this story was the role that fat played in it. It's clear by the time you've read the full story that fat is kind of a symbol of love, maternal love specifically. When the narrator talks about her mother, the only thing she recalls is that her mother would only take 8 bites of food before she insisted that she could not have any more. And this mentality was something that really contrasted with the narrator's, I believe the author's name is Carmen, but the narrator was never given a name, so I'm not going to assume that this was like a one-to-one reflection. I just don't want to assume, so I'm just going to say the narrator. So the narrator had this, she loved food. She wanted to eat. She loved eating. This was one of the things that's very clear because at the very beginning, the opening of the story, she's getting, I believe it's called a gastric bypass surgery, the one where they make your stomach about the size of an egg so that she physically can't eat too much and so that she will become skinny. So because of this difference that she had with her and her mother, she starts to believe that she's only worthy of love if she can eat less, if this makes sense. She watches all of her sisters do it, and she goes through the surgery. She does not get the support of her daughter because her daughter basically says, if you can't love yourself when you look like this, how am I supposed to be able to love myself? And there's this huge clash between her and her daughter because of that. I think what's very interesting about this story, though, is that it takes a very metaphorical and fantastical turn after she gets the surgery. She has this thing living in her house and she knows it's there, but she can't quite place what it is. She talks to her sisters. Her sisters all say these various different answers of what it is. And as the narrator grows thinner because of what she's done to herself, she finds where it is. And it's this faceless blob of fat that as soon as she finds it, she says it's unwanted and she starts tearing into it. She starts beating it. She hates this part of herself because the thinner she gets, the more she hated the fact that she was fat at all. And towards the end of the book, she's sort of envisioning what her death will be. And what she envisions is that even though she hated this blob of fat, even though she tried to hurt it and take it down, it's what guides her into the afterlife with loving arms and an understanding greater than herself. And I think that this represents maternal love specifically because of the way that Carmen used the words around her own imagined death, or the narrator's own imagined death, I should say. And the fact that there's so many maternal and sisterly, but the sisters are mostly connected by the maternal connection that she has, but this whole story has to do with maternal connections, and there's this assumed sort of distance between the narrator and her mother. She never speaks of her. It's clear by the daughter's behavior that the narrator's mother maybe does not exactly know how to go about mothering somebody. All she can do is hate herself, hate her fat, and try to be like her mother. But I think this is a very interesting perspective on being fat, especially because the narrator proclaims that she had gained the weight during her pregnancy with her daughter. And this is an important note because that's when you become a mother. That's when you stop being able to do things of your own free will. That's when you're burdened with motherhood, the fat. And I don't believe the narrator's mother was ever burdened with motherhood because she proclaimed she could only eat 8 bites of something. And my perspective is food is the metaphor of this story, but instead of it being directly a specific food, it is the act of being fat, the act of indulging, the act of loving bigly and without restraint, just ultimate love. And the narrator denies this of herself, and she she forces herself through uncomfortable situations and non-necessary procedures in order to become thin. And it both breaks and warms my heart, this story. Maybe this is too much of an emotional reading, but there is something to be loved about being plump, about being fat, about being round and open and soft, but she never actually got to see this part of herself. Instead, she just always saw it as an extraness that needed to be shed through whatever means necessary. And it's sort of this rejection of the love of food. It's this rejection of love that she's going through as she's stripping herself of this weight. And by the end, that very thing that she hated is what guides her into the afterlife with great love and great kindness. So I just wanted to make my response about how in this story the food is represented by fat, and the fat is representational of love, and specifically in this story the representation of love is maternal love. And it's a story that both breaks and warms my heart. So that's my interpretation.